Okay, so welcome Harsh to this debriefing session and congratulations on scoring a 740 with a perfect Q51 and a V38. How do you feel?
Actually, quite a good feeling. I mean, I was really happy with my score, but more importantly, when I got that AWA 6, that's when I was really happy that okay, now this is something I hadn't expected. I was expecting a good out of 800, but getting that 6 in AWA was something really special. I mean, I did message that to a lot of my friends that look, I got an AWA 6.
Okay.
Like everything is outside AWA 6.
So AWA 6 versus a Q51. Still AWA 6?
Yeah, because I come from an engineering background, so anything less than Q50 would have been a disgrace among my friends. So, but AWS 6 does put me high on the audit. So,
Okay, okay. So let's talk about your first attempt. You took an attempt, gotten a 690, and then took the second attempt, improved to a 740. What did you do differently from the first attempt versus the second?
so the first thing is I changed my the online service provider. I mean, the online classes I changed that. So that was a big change. So I changed to eGMAT, as you know. But apart from that, I guess there was a much deeper focus, thanks to again the curriculum that y'all have said. There's a much deeper focus on understanding the concepts. Uh, like even the target was much higher because earlier I was applying to the ISB YLP program and I saw that the average was of 710. I was hoping that okay, then I need to be in that ballpark and then I'll let my SA and my IIT background help me through it. But I guess this time I had a much higher aim. I had a much higher, and also I was way more disciplined because I had work during the day. I had a job, and last year I had just graduated. My job hadn't started, so I had a lot of free time. So I would just I didn't value my time that well, but I was way more disciplined this time.
Okay. So when you came to us, there were certain weaknesses because you already had a 690. So I would say the job was half done, half remained. So from that 690, understanding those weaker areas and then coming on to the eGMAT platform, how did you use the course, knowing that these are my weaker areas?
So as I said, right, coming from an Indian engineering background, I guess it was very clear that quant will not be that issue. It will be verbal. And verbal, again, it came to the fact that we don't speak in the way GMAT asks for. Like our colloquial language is actually a bit different. And so what would happen is that a lot of the questions when I would attempt, I would say, this doesn't sound right, as in the way we would normally speak in our conversations. And that's when it so you always get these questions wrong, right? You cannot rely on this sound, right? Maybe between two choices you can use that, but attempting a question with that very rationale
Very true.
is probably the worst thing to do. So I guess there was a clear focus on understanding as to why the comma is placed there, as to why a modifier is placed where it is, and what is the implication of placing it anywhere else. I guess that was the larger focus. And let's get these concepts right, and that will be helpful. I mean, timing was never really an issue. I am an impatient person, so yeah. I mean, that was the real focus. I mean, that's what made the difference
Mhm.
in terms of getting to the root of all the concepts and trying to understand as to why things are the way they are. I mean,
Mhm.
so I guess that helped a lot. Apart from that, yeah, I mean, eGMAT has a fantastic organized curriculum wherein I really had a good easy time tracking my weaknesses, looking at those three topics that I was quite uncomfortable with probably till the very last day. But at least I knew that okay, this is somewhere I am going wrong. I need to improve.
So when we first had the call, and then we started working for in the LM program. Um, After a few number of weeks, there were certain issues that you were facing in CR. So we checked your call data, and if I remember correctly, Boldface was one, inference
Yeah.
was other, and you spent a lot of time during your prep on these two topics to ensure that you don't mess up with these. So how did you ensure that if your data, Scholaranium data is telling you something, how do So how did you plan around that?
So, so I guess the best part was that even after you attempt a set of questions, you do have the review list that was made, and that also had questions that you were right in. That probably the system thinks that you attempted it just by chance, got it right by chance, and so, and given that the topic was right there, it was mentioned, the topic is there, and so that helped me, sort of, and again, your mentorship was truly phenomenal in that sense, that it really helped me understand that okay, I am quite good at the other aspects, probably these 2 or 3 areas where I need to sort of tighten the screws and get it and score a home run. So say when it even came to say boldface, I had a mental block that okay, boldface is a tough question. The boldface is a typical 700 level above question. So okay, let it go wrong. I'll focus on the other ones.
Mhm.
So in that sense, I wouldn't, really read the options that carefully, wouldn't connect the statements to the overall conclusion or the inference from that passage. And maybe that was leading to all the errors. I guess adding that one extra minute to the question
Mhm.
really helped.
Okay, okay. That, and because essentially what I found out is throughout your journey, you should finish the papers very quickly. So I remember the last mock that you're taken, you just gave me a call and said that you finished the mock, let's say 15 minutes prior, the quant section, 15 to 20 minutes prior the actual time.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a normal practice that finishing it 15-20 minutes before would be a like. So again, right, I said, right, I'm quite an impatient person. And if I realize that if I'm taking more than a minute on a math problem,
Mhm.
then I do feel that okay, maybe I'm doing it wrong. It's just something wrong. I mean, why the question is not supposed to be that tough? So that's why I had that inherent sense of hurry.
Mhm.
So I actually was happy. I was quite happy with the Q50. I was like, okay, Q50, I cannot take it to Q51.
Mhm.
Difference between Q50 and Q51 was spending that extra time, the
Mhm.
extra 15-20 minutes to ensure that your questions are right. I mean, normally I would
Right,
make 3 or 4 errors,
right.
but I was like, okay, I'll settle for this. Q50 is good enough. I mean, I can't change my nature.
So being such strong, let's say in quant, right from the beginning, how did you use the Scholaranium platform, to ensure that you first is maintain and if there's a possibility also improve to a Q51?
Scholaranium came in handy because of the large number of questions. So, when we were having our conversations back in the day that, let's not focus on quant now, I'll pick it up later. The point was that I used that large question bank as a sort of, workout, that
Mhm.
every day you go to the gym, you to maintain your physique. So
Very true.
that's what it helped me with. Like
Mhm.
every day, do those 30 questions for 1 hour, train that mind. The cycle should keep going on. That, on the final day also, you can just take it as another set of 30 questions.
Mhm.
So that was the entire approach, like the large question bank and the fact that you could create custom quizzes. So I realized that probably, number properties was something I was a bit weak with because that's
Mhm.
something we had studied probably in school. It
Very
didn't come
true.
up in my JE or in my IIT classes. It never came up. So given that I had forgotten some concepts,
Mhm.
and that's something I came to know through, your Scholaranium practice because say LCM GCD. I mean, I studied. I remember studying that in fifth or sixth grade. After that, I never really touched it. So I had to sort of revise those concepts.
Mhm. So again, so you use the Scholarinium data to do this. That's good. That's essentially very so essentially only targeting your weaker areas because why would you
Yeah,
target, let's say, what problems are algebra if you're already doing
absolutely.
that 98th percentile over there? Perfectly makes sense. So now that you are improving and you could see your improvements, you're also taking mocks. What was the strategy, let's say, from 15 days to the actual exam? So how did you pace your mocks? What was your strategy around the mocks?
So given that I had a job, it made the only time I had, that 3 to 4 hour window to, to sit down without distraction, without any worries about work was on a Sunday.
Mhm.
So Sundays were essentially reserved, Sunday mornings were essentially reserved for the GMAT mock. Uh, so the strategy, again, right, given my confidence in quant, I was like, okay, let's start with quant so that, so even if I'm not too confident on the day of the exam, I'm sure those quant questions will sort of, allay my fears, and keep my mind cool. So I would start with quant, go to verbal, and then essentially take a lot of time to analyze
Mm-hmm.
each question after that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so when it comes to questions that you got right, because normally say when it comes to sentence correction, I always had some challenges between navigating between say two options that were really close,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately you go with that gut feeling, and you do get that right sometimes. So the point was that okay, I should go back and see as to why that other option was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That I was so close to answering that, but why was that wrong? So that was the real focus. That even looking at questions that you were right at, and trying to find out if you really deserved that mark, and or was it just a hunch.
Okay. So,
So I mean, I must commend the mock. Uh, the overall algorithms and everything that go behind the mock exams, because if you remember, I mean, I'm sure you remember that my scores were always between a 710 and a 740.
yes.
I was clearly varying between that, and
And
the
the
final
last
exam
mock
was
that
at
you
a
taken
740.
was a 720, I guess. The last mock before you took the test.
No, it was a 740. It was a 740. Yeah.
Okay.
Last one was a 740.
Mhm.
Started with a 720, 710, 730, 740, 740. That's how it was. So that really shows that it was actually quite accurate in what it was predicting, and it actually simulated the real GMAT exam really well.
Mhm. Mhm. You had a very proper idea. Okay. So the one very
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
question on that front, Harsh, is so you said that you start off with quants, but at times, even let's say you're strong at quants, don't you think that it would lessen up that energy, or on that energy front you might die out a little bit? Verbal is a 65-minute, more number of questions, your weaker area. So how did you plan around that?
No, so given that you have an 8-minute break between two sections, and I would encourage everyone to take that. Uh, so it's always so I had a bunch of chocolates kept next to me so that the sugar levels are always high.
Okay.
So I mean, I had that ultimate faith in quant that it will not let me down.
Mhm.
I had that faith. I mean, so I knew that I have to stick to quant. I mean, when I'd given the 690 mock last year,
Mhm.
690 well, a GMAT last year, I had, if I remember correctly, I mean, at that time, GMAT had just introduced the online mock test, and there you were not allowed to decide your order. So you had to start with verbal.
Mhm.
And I was actually not quite comfortable this time, because when you start a test, you are a bit, your emotions are a bit up and down, your mind is racing everywhere. So I think starting with verbal at that time, at least for me, wasn't the best idea.
Okay.
So I was really happy that GMAT allowed that change, and I could start with quant, because that's where my real strength lay.
Um, Another addition to this entire journey of yours was the LMP program. How did the
Yeah.
LMP program work out for you? Like, what was your experience around that?
So essentially, I mean I was doing well, but that was coming through by chance. I mean, I didn't have a very clear idea as to where I was going wrong, what are the topics that I was going wrong with, and how should I practice. I was just like, probably a horse that has, those blinders on, and you're just running in one direction. You don't even know what's happening anywhere else. You're not analyzing things well. You're just running.
Mhm.
So so that is where I was really surprised that I got your mail on one day that hi, I'm Atreya, and you've been a good student. We'd like to give you some free mentorship. I'm like, wow, that's great. I mean, why not? Because so the 740 that I had in my second mock, after
Mhm.
which you started helping me,
Mhm.
and the 740 that I had in my last mock, okay, so
Mhm.
confidence levels spoke for themselves. Well, like when
Mhm.
I saw a 740 during my second mock, I was surprised. Oh, 740. But after that, I mean, when I had a 740 after that, I knew that okay, I have done these things correctly. I should get a score like this.
Very good
So I guess
point.
the entire confidence level,
Mhm.
came because of that mentorship. Like, see, I mean, given that I had a job and everything, it would be difficult to sort of find out that okay, given I didn't have the luxury of time.
Mhm.
Um, the thing was that okay, I have to focus on those 5 things to get them correct, and that is where your mentorship really came in handy. That okay, these are the 5 things that you're doing incorrectly. Why don't you focus on these 5 only?
Mhm.
So that's what I was. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, towards the end of the, like only a week before my GMAT, I guess there were daily plans that you were creating. That okay, do 30 questions today, do 15 of RC, do 10 of CR, 5 of SC, medium to hard difficulty in this much time. You should solve them. So I never really had to use my mind. I
Mhm.
just had to just follow whatever you had said, and it really helped me that way.
Mhm. And all this preparation, then the D-Day started off with quants, and the quant section went damn good. So did that also
Yeah,
help gain some confidence for the verbal
yeah,
section?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, see, even if I do quant in the very end, I knew I was going to get good marks.
Mhm.
The point of doing that in the very beginning was that I needed that confidence booster.
Mhm. Mhm. One,
So
one,
that's
one.
why,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. No, no, I was just saying something else.
Okay. So
You were saying
one
something.
very interesting question, like, what do you feel? How many questions could you have gotten incorrect in quant? Would that be zero? Because I knew that you've taken good
No,
amount of
so
time solving.
when I was writing the GMAT, I knew probably I was making errors in say one or two questions. I wasn't too sure about my answer.
Okay.
It did take me some time to solve it. I think probably one or two errors. I mean, at max.
And by time you
Other
mean
than that,
taking you more than 1 minute to solve?
yeah, I'm taking more than 1 minute to solve this.
So that is really good. So now that you have a 740, you are only 24. How are you, and also have an ISP admit. How are you planning things? So what are your next plans?
So the first thing is I need to decide if ISB or not. I mean, ISB is a phenomenal school
Mhm.
providing superb diversity and a brilliant curriculum. And I mean, it's hard to find faults in whatever they are doing. I mean, essentially, I am a product of the Indian education system, and I'm quite proud of that.
Mhm.
But uh, having said that, I mean, I do feel that okay, if you studied in the best in India, why not aim for the best in the world?
Mhm.
So
Very true.
probably the next 2 or 3 years will be, you know, so firstly I have to ask for a deferral from ISP that give me one more year to think about it, and after that I sort of need to make up my mind if I want to stay here, if I want to go out.
Mhm.
Probably need to do some detailed profile evaluation, do some introspection myself, that okay, why do I want to go out? Because I guess that's one point, like the application processes abroad with are really intensive.
Mhm.
I mean, in terms of the essays, your LORs, I mean, they really expect some level of soul searching, introspection from you as to why you want to go there, why you want to do an MBA. To be honest, I haven't really given that too much of a thought
Okay.
when I got selected into ISB, because the essay topics were not revolving around that aspect of, you know, as to why you want to come to ISB.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it will need some sort of soul searching as to at what stage of my career do I want to do an MBA and why. So yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to the next 2 3 years.
Mhm.
I mean, trying to improve my profile, trying to remove any other weaknesses that I may have, and go for it. I mean, let's see.
Using Scholaranium precision targeting over your life as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'll be able to do that well. I mean, Scholaranium did give me a very good feedback as to if I'm thinking correctly or not. Here, I don't really have that mechanism. The only mechanism I probably have is an admit or a reject from a B school. So it's quite binary in nature.
True. No, but really good job done, Harsh. I'm very proud of you. So AWA definitely it was a very good point that you mentioned. But I was more happy with the Q51 because I always had this in month. I had this in mind that you deserve a Q51. And you were not at all someone less than a Q51. You were so strong and conch. So really good job on that. 740 is a great score, and all the best for all the plans that you have or will create. And yeah, do let us know if we can help us out, help you out in anything.
Absolutely.
All right, thank
Absolutely.
you and good luck for your future plans.
Thanks, Atreya. Thanks for all your help. Thanks to the eGMAT team. And that's a spectacular product. I mean, by far, probably the best online eGMAT, because I've already had experienced one earlier. So I was quite happy with the overall product itself. Like it was very well designed, and like the ease of use and all the other functionalities. The custom quizzes was probably the best feature. Like creating quizzes based on your topic and then just going for it, question levels, topics. So I guess one point that I would like to add, I mean, you know that I was quite weak at CR at one point.
Yeah.
It's not CR, RC,
Correct.
reading comprehensions. And that actually came down to only two specific topics that were really, stumping me. One was humanities and the other was history. So these are two topics. So I guess one thing that all applicants can do is, find out which topics are you scared of, like, again, being the impatient person that I am, I couldn't, I would just quickly read through the passage, especially if it wasn't interesting to me. Say humanities or history didn't come naturally to me because I come from an engineering background and all of that. So that was a pretty tough thing to navigate. I guess that's where what I did was I actually took Sapiens, which is a best-selling book. It is a 450-pager book on history, actually, basically the evolution of mankind. And I just read that every day. I would read 20 pages. I would force myself to read history. That you have to, because otherwise I can't be impatient when it comes to the exam, right? I mean, I just can't say I don't write this essay. I'll not read it only. I'll just go through whatever, because the ultimate sure, the things would lie between those two options that were very close, and the detailed questions would actually, even the understanding of one word in that passage, change the entire question.
Yes.
So I guess the habit of reading history is something I had to cultivate. I mean, I do like reading it now. I do listen to a lot of history podcasts also. I guess that came from there.
So that is good. And then reading this book, because you had that intent of scoring high, you knew your weaker areas. So that's also really, really good. I never knew about reading 20 pages a day. So that's really nice thing, Harsh.
Yeah, I had to force myself. I mean, the first few days I would actually go off to sleep while reading only.
Okay.
But I had to force myself.
Okay.
So
that is good. So yeah, so that's good. I would wish you all the best for all of you, all your future plans, and yeah, do good.
thank you, Atreya.
Bye.